It's final exam week for the Tar Heels. Is it a passing grade so far?
This is David Noel, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. It's my wife's 40th birthday. Oh my goodness. Maggie, I love you so much. I'm so grateful to be your husband. Let's celebrate big today. I can't wait. Welcome in, everybody, to the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get your Tuesday going the right way. And I want to give a special shout out to all you everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord who are here with us as well. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Great to be together today. It is exam week now for the Tar Heels following the win over Georgetown, leading to Saturday's game hosting USC Upstate. And so I thought it would be a fun and appropriate time to give Carolina a grade thus far through the first 9 games. We'll look at that. We'll also talk about Carolina's depth. There's been some grumbling I've heard about it. I'd like to kind of paint the picture of where I think the depth is at right now. Then we'll talk about some three-point shooting as well. I said it off the top, and I mean it. Today is my wife's 40th birthday. Today, Tuesday. And so I would love it if you all would help me wish my dear bride, Maggie, a great 40th birthday. Like, spam the comments. Go crazy on it. Let's have fun. Let's make her feel loved. Thank you. That'd be so fun. Okay. What grade do we give the Tar Heels so far? Right now, they're 8-1. The lone loss, obviously, to Michigan State on Thanksgiving Day down in Fort Myers. A game that they had a lead in, a game that they could have won, maybe even would have won if Seth Trimble was playing. But you'd take your lumps without Seth Trimble, let some other guys get some experience, and it's, there's certainly some silver linings. On the other side of the win-loss ledger, you beat Kansas at home comfortably. You beat Kentucky on the road. Yes, it was not a astonishingly big margin of victory, but guess what? North Carolina went to Rupp Arena and won a basketball game. Period. I know Kentucky's a mess right now, but I don't care. I'm telling you, I truly, truly still believe that they are going to get healthy and that win is going to look better on Selection Sunday than it does today. They just nicely handled Georgetown. They've won all the bye games they're supposed to win. And so you feel like you're in really good shape from that regard. You went 3-1 in the stretch that I called the defining 4-game stretch of the non-conference schedule. Carolina beat St. Bonaventure, pushed away from them. Yes, lost to Michigan State, beat Kentucky, and then, as I just said, beat Georgetown by 20. Carolina, yesterday, the new AP poll came out. They jumped from 16 to 14 in the AP poll. By the way, this is the week. You've probably heard the thing of, hey, actually, I say probably. You might not have heard this. Since 2004, the eventual national champion has always been ranked top 12 in the week 6 of the AP poll. Isn't that crazy? Since 2004. And yes, I've gone back and done the research because I don't trust things that somebody tells me. I'm going to go figure it out. And it's right. The pattern, I guess you don't even call it a statistical anomaly, just an anomaly, but it is kind of fun. Unfortunately, the Tar Heels are outside that at 14th right now. But they're plenty good enough to be in that category. So anyway, that's cool. For Carolina, 14th in the AP poll. On Monday's refresh of the net rankings, Carolina jumped up to 14th there as well. 2-1 in quad 1, 1-0 in quad 2, 1-0 in quad 3, and 4-0 in quad 4. And P.S., here's some great news. Usually Carolina last year, for example, or other seasons where they've struggled to get a quad 1 win, a lot of the struggle is because they didn't have many quad 1 opportunities. This year, they are flush with quad 1 opportunities. They've already played 3, and of their remaining 18, 19. It'd be 22, right? 4 non-con. Yeah, 22 remaining games. As of right now, 11 of those remaining games are non-con. The Ohio State game has now flipped to being a quad 1 game. They, as of Monday, were 40th in the net, and you got to be top 50 on a neutral site, so that's good. And then 10 of Carolina's ACC matchups are currently quad 1s. So again, literally exactly half of your remaining games as of right now are quad 1s. That's incredible stuff. Now you got to go win them. It ain't good to go 0-11 in those games, but you'd rather have the opportunities than not. Much better than having Boston College on your schedule twice, where that's going to be quad 4 games. You don't want those. You want the opportunities, and that's better. So there's that. At Torvik, Carolina is 20th, 40th in offensive efficiency, 14th in defensive efficiency. At KenPom, 22nd. They're 41st at offensive efficiency and 21st in defensive efficiency. 14th at Torvik in defensive efficiency. Again, that's without Seth Trimble. Yes, I know he's factored into 2 of those 9 games, but it's 2 of 9. And yet Carolina is operating as the 14th most efficient defense per Torvik's algorithm. Get me Seth Trimble back, and this is a top 10 defensive team. I'm telling you. Now, you want the offense to grow, and that's part of the calculus of the exercise we're doing here of considering everything, considering the rankings, considering how Carolina has played, the personnel, all of that. It brings me to give Carolina a grade right now of A-. And I can hear some groans for the glass half empty crowd of, oh, are you kidding me, Isaac? You're always so positive. Yeah, I am. Because if we can't look at a team that is 8-1 without their senior captain playing, at least, obviously he's still with the team, he's still motivating, still leading, and that's great, but he's not doing it as an on-court player right now. I mean, even by default, just looking at the record, it's 8-1. But you look at the front court and how good they've been. You look at the backcourt starting to come along a little bit, figure themselves out. You guys, A-. I feel good with that grade. Now, I do want to hear, though, what is your grade? Drop it in the comments on YouTube. Come jump in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord and let us know there as well. I wonder, yeah, there might be some people that would give Carolina an A. I feel like I'm going to be on the high end of it. But do you, like, if you're being objective with what Carolina has done so far, what their record is, I don't see how you go down into C territory. I truly feel like B- is the lowest you could go and have any defensible way to explain it. And it's A- with room to grow, right? Like Carolina is not shooting great at the free throw line. They're not shooting great from 3. But man, they're doing work inside. They are killing it in 2-point defense. They're assisting they're sharing the ball really well. So there's a lot to like about what's already going on while recognizing, yes, there is some room to grow. So if you want to say B+, B, I'd even give you down to B-, and I'd hear a defense for it. But anything under than that, I think is just being a doomsday fan, you know? And so I'm sitting on A- for Carolina right now in finals week. Of course, and I'm giving them that for the season. I'd love to revisit it after non-conference play is over. No reason to think Carolina won't win the 3 remaining bye games, and then it's all going to come down to Ohio State. In my mind, Carolina is either going to be 11-2 or 12-1 going into ACC play. By the way, Ohio State plays tonight, so check that out. I think they host Illinois, if I remember correctly. Should be a really good game and can learn a lot about the Buckeyes, so make sure to check that game out. Carolina should win it, though, down in Atlanta. I truly, truly think Carolina will be 12-1 entering ACC play. And at that point, how could you but not join me in the A- grade? I think it's great. Good job, Carolina. You've done what you need to do, and that's all we can ask. There's been some noise about Carolina's depth or lack thereof, and Carolina needing more help off the bench. There's truth to that. But there's also something else we all need to recognize. I want to share that with you, and we'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Omaha Steaks, the holidays come with two big goals: feed people well and find gifts that people love. And when you go to Omaha Steaks, man, you're killing two birds with one stone. Omaha Steaks is the way to go. From hosting to gifting, they deliver the world's best steak experience right there to your door. Right now, they got a sale going on. It's called Sizzle All the Way. You can stock up, you can save in a huge way. You ready for this? Up to 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And it gets even better. Locked On College listeners, you can get an extra $35 off with code COLLEGE at checkout. Just my wife and I, Maggie, over the weekend got an Omaha Steaks box from my in-laws for a Christmas present. I've never had a box before. I pulled it out. I looked at it. I love it. The box is cool. It's packed well. All the meat came frozen. It's now in our freezer. But there was a couple fillets in there. And oh, baby, Maggie and I made plans to grill those up. Actually, we're going to do them on the stovetop. Make it nice and glorious. We're going to do that on Christmas Eve. Oh, I cannot wait. Bring it on. That's going to be really great. They've got so many options, though. It's not just the fillets. They've got burgers, hot dogs, comfort meals, sides, desserts, you name it. You can build a box for anyone. This is holiday magic made easy. You can order by 6 p.m. Eastern on a given day, and it will ship that night. How about that? So save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit the website for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale, and you can get an extra $35 off using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See the website for details. Again, that's omahasteaks.com, code COLLEGE. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day, and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. I want to also remind you of, hey, look, you already live your team every day. Now it's time to take that up a level and go ad-free. Yes, you can get an ad-free version of Locked On Tar Heels by joining our brand new thing. It's called the Everydayer Club. You get Locked On Tar Heels with no interruptions. You get a members-only Discord access. So yes, we've got our Locked On Tar Heels, but this is a Discord for the entirety of Locked On. So hosts are all in there. Anybody that's part of the Everydayers Club, you get to be part of that. It's really cool. All of that for just $5 a month, or you can get a nice discount for $50 a year. Go to lockedontarheels.supercast.com, or you can check out the link in the show notes to learn more. Okay, I want to talk to you some about depth for the North Carolina Tar Heels. And let me pull up in real time here. Let me get back to the Tar Heels KenPom page, because one of the things he does is gives bench minutes percentage, the percentage of all of Carolina's minutes played by the bench. Right now, that's sitting at exactly 25.1%, which is good for 331st in the nation. There are 365 teams in D1. So Carolina's in the bottom, 40 of that. Last year, Coach Davis used his bench 30% of the time. The year before, and that I believe that was the highest. The year before that was 22-6, which was the year, though, that Carolina was a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The year they missed the tournament, bench minutes 18.3% in Coach Davis's first year, the Iron 5 year with Brady Manick. Carolina 19.8%, 348. So right now, even though Carolina is only using their bench 25%, and even though they're 331st in the nation, it's the second highest bench usage rate of the Hubert Davis era, if you follow the numbers there. That said, here's what you need to pick up on and remember. Right now, a guy that would otherwise be up at the top of the depth chart in terms of minutes played, I'm not saying Seth Trimble is going to be the leading scorer. I truly think that's Caleb Wilson and or Henri Veesaar. One of those guys will be your leading scorer at the end of the season. But another thing I truly believe is that when Seth Trimble is healthy and playing, he will play more minutes than anyone on this team. And I guess Henri Veesaar is going to continue to play a lot of minutes because there's not much help behind him. That to me is the biggest glaring hole with the depth, is there is nobody there. Somebody told me last week, and I've not been able to confirm that. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago. It was during Thanksgiving week. Somebody told me that there was a rumor that Jalen Washington had wanted to stay, But because Van Allen Lubin was planning to stay, Jalen Washington opted to leave. Can you imagine, though, if Van Allen Lubin had left earlier and Jalen Washington was the guy backing up Henri Veesaar? I would love that because I didn't like Jay Wash as a starter, but having him come off the bench, give me that all day long. That, to me, when I heard that, I was like, oh, how different would we feel? And even if it was if Van Allen Lubin or Jalen Washington was the backup 5, it changes everything. But again, the guy that to me is going to play the most minutes on this team is out right now. And so when you slot him back in, Seth Trimble, what does that do? It shifts everybody else back down one spot on the depth chart. And if this is a football team, that doesn't honestly matter too terribly much. But on a basketball team, it matters a ton. Every single slot is critical. When you think about it, a team plays 200 total minutes in a basketball game. And if you're dividing that, let's say Seth Trimble makes Carolina go 9 deep. I'm just hypothetically there. And without Seth Trimble, now you're 8 deep. You might play somebody an extra minute or two that you otherwise would not have. But everybody's chunk of the pie is a little bigger, and everybody's got to play a little bit more. But when Seth Trimble comes back in and everybody shifts back down a slot, now you're in a much better place. Part of this as well is I think we get so worked up worrying about so many guys. In college basketball, I truly, honestly, firmly believe that what you need is 8 guys you can count on and believe in to be part of your rotation. And if you got that, you're good. So think about this with me right now, if you will. The current starters with Seth Trimble sitting on the bench are Kyan Evans, Luka Bogavac, Jarin Stevenson, Caleb Wilson, Henri Veesaar. That's your starting 5 right now. The guys that are getting the most minutes off the bench behind them are Derek Dixon and Jonathan Powell. Jonathan took a little bit of a dip Sunday against Georgetown, but had played 20-plus minutes in each of the previous 2 games. So there's 7. You add Seth Trimble back in, and now you got your 8. The issue that we identify, though, is, okay, sure, you got your 8, but the vast majority of those dudes are guards or wings. And let's put, when you think about this, so there's that 8, Kyan Evans, Seth Trimble, Derek Dixon, Luka Bogavac, 4, and Jonathan Powell. There's 5. So 5 of that 8 are backcourt guys. Maybe you could you put some of them at the 3. Derek Dixon's got the size, honestly. Luka Bogavac has the size. Jonathan Powell has the size. Any of those guys could play 3. And so I think because of that overload at the backcourt and at the wing, I think what you got to do when Seth Trimble comes back so that you can really rely on your 8 is Jarin Stevenson. I've thought much more about this over the weekend. It's funny because I flipped my mind on this last week when I was talking about it in real time. Jarin Stevenson, for me, is the guy that I'm now sending to the bench so that he can come off the bench and back up the 4 and or the 5 and have a 3-man front court rotation with Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar. And then that limits how many minutes you have. Now you're not having to rely on Zayden High or James Brown as much because they've not, to this point, things could change. I recognize that. But to this point, they've not proven themselves capable of giving Carolina either a lift or at least maintaining for 5 minutes a game. That's all it really needs to be. And they've not proven capable fully of doing that yet. So right now it's tough because you feel like you got 7 with Powell and Dixon really coming on, and you need more from High and or Brown. I'd prefer the and Brown, but whatever. And so when you think about it, Henri Veesaar, because of that, is ending up playing a lot of minutes. In fact, in the post-Georgetown YouTube comments, Reservoir Dog 16 said, Veesaar has never played this many minutes in his career. Should we be concerned that he's playing this many minutes against quad 3 teams when he is playing so much more than usual? It's a great question. I think part of it is we also can't just say quad 3 team. This was Georgetown, who has legit talent. It's just that the computer algorithms aren't recognizing it fully yet. I think Georgetown's going to move up in where things are at the net. In fact, I'm curious where they stand right now as we chat. Okay. Actually, I could go look at it. Where's North Carolina's page? 115 is where Georgetown is at. In order for that game to move to a quad 2, they would have to get into the top 75. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to climb that high. But they're better than, what did I say, 115. They just are. They've got more talent than that. Part of it is they've got some injuries. They're a little bit banged up. But one of the reasons I thought in this game in particular, you continue to play Henri Veesaar so much is because Julius Halafanoa was a really stout adversary, and you've got to be able to match that. And Carolina didn't really have that outside of Veesaar, and so they had to ride Henri Veesaar in that regard. For his, let me look at Veesaar's player log to see, because just how many, what are all his minutes? 25, 38, 28, 24, 31, 35, 28, 36, and 37, Kentucky and Georgetown. And so that's the fear. All of those big games, Kansas 38, Navy, he ended up having to play 31 because of Navy's comeback. St. Bonaventure 35, Michigan State, he only played 28, and then 36, 37, Kentucky and Georgetown. You know, you fear when you go play Ohio State, it's going to be over 35. Now, part of that is he's prepared himself for this. He's known that he's going to have to do it. And so Carolina, I'm sure, has worked with him on conditioning and other things. But he does look gassed at times down the stretch. And Carolina has to be able to steal some minutes so that he doesn't have to play. Even if you could just get him to 35 and not get up to 37. If between James Brown, Zayden High, sliding Stevenson or Wilson up to the 5 and just finding pockets to get 5 minutes of rest for Veesaar, that's going to put him and the team in a better position. So that's what I'm watching for. As for the depth, overall, I'm not worried about it, not especially. Once Seth gets back, I'm not worried about it. Right now, you're still trying to piece some things together, and I get that and I recognize it. But once Seth is back, I feel good because, again, it slides everybody back one seat on the bus and maybe allows Stevenson to play more of a critical backup role in the front court. And if that's the case, I think that puts Carolina in a much, much better situation long term. Okay, I want to look now at 3-point shooting. Carolina, it's no secret, needs to start shooting better. But the issue is that I think they might need to adjust philosophically. We'll talk about what I mean coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams joining the event, it's going to be bigger and crazier and massiver than ever. But let's be honest, getting tickets to these matches is like the singularly hardest part of it. And that's why the Game Time app comes in clutch. It's finally giving fans like you a real advantage when it comes to snagging deals and seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time. You can get in on that. You get alerts when great seats open. Buy tickets the moment they hit the app or the moment they drop or get to that price point you're looking for. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup a possibility rather than a complete impossibility. You just pull up the app. The layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups, change your seat view, compare seat views, whatever it is. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets located within minutes. No confusion, and there's no hunting for fine print. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match and every concert and every event as well. Do it all with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. You want to go see Carolina on Saturday against USC Upstate? Right now, the cheapest ticket is $39. I promise you this, if you wait till later in the week, you're going to be able to get them for cheaper than that. That's Game Time and what they do for you. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. I want to talk more about North Carolina's 3-point shooting because right now it does not look good. And I was hopeful preseason that it would look good, but again, right now it does not. Carolina on the season is shooting 31.7% from beyond the arc. That's 235th in the nation, and that's not good enough for where Carolina wants to get season long and how they want to play. It has become apparent to me that we're just going to have to live with the fact that Carolina is going to chuck 25 three-point attempts a game. I wish it was 5 lower, even 2, 3 lower to get down to 22 or 23 three-point attempts a game. But not everyone shares that sentiment with me. In fact, on the live postcast after the Georgetown game, Remodel CBR in the YouTube comment said, Schade, and I appreciate that. That's like what my wife says when she's got something serious to tell me. Schade, if you shoot 33% on threes, that equals the same point total as 50% on twos. I get we need to pound it inside, but mix in some threes as well to keep the defense honest. This is a great truth and a great point, Remodel. And for those who might not be aware, yes, it's accurate. Think about it. If you take 12 threes, you make 33% of them, which would be 4. 4 out of 12 is 33%. But you get 12 points off of that. 4 times 3 is 12. If you take 12 twos and you make 6 of them 50%, great. Your percentage is higher, but your point total, your points output is the same, 12 points. 6 2-pointers times 2 points is 12. 4 3-pointers times 2 is also 12. And so that's a part of the reality is, yes, 33% on threes equals 50% on twos. But you got to get to both of those. And right now, Carolina is falling shy of that 33% on three-point attempts. They're at 31.7% as a team. Again, 253rd in the nation. And I truly believe this is a better three-point shooting team than we've seen. I honest to goodness, feel that way. And I hear Remodel CBR's pushback on me, and I very much appreciate it. But what I would say is that Carolina is way above that 50% threshold on twos. In fact, right now they're shooting 56.7 from two as a team. That's 88th in the nation. And they're below that 33% from three. And that's why I keep harping on this. Not because I don't understand effective field goal percentage, not because I don't understand the fact that 3 points is more than 2. What? That's crazy. No, get all that, and I totally understand it. And I appreciate your point. But right now, North Carolina is above the 2-point field goal percentage by a good margin. Again, they're sitting at 56.7% right now. And they're sitting below it in 3-point percentage at 31.7. The Georgetown game played that out really well. Carolina in the first half was 4 of 15 from 3. That's 26.7%. That is not going to equal things out if you're shooting 26.7% from beyond the arc. Meanwhile, they were 12 of 18 from 2, which is 66.7%. Way above that 50% we were just talking about. That is kind of that goal. If you look at the game for the Georgetown game, Carolina shot, it was a little worse, but not much, and way over 50% still. Carolina from 2 was 20 of 32 against Georgetown. That's 62.5%. And again, that's a team kind of hell-bent on not letting you get in there. Georgetown was more than comfortable to let Carolina take those threes. And Carolina obliged, going 9 of 28 from 3, which is 32%. So those 27 points from 3 on 32% do not equal the 40 points you got from 2 on 62.5%. And yes, you took 4 more shots from 2 than you did from 3, but still 40 points to 27 points because you shot 62.5% on 2s to 32.1% on 3s. Now, hear me loud and clear, everybody out there. What I am not saying, I am not saying don't shoot 3s. That would be silly and irrational and dumb. I am just saying, my point is, it should not be the volume that it is right now. I think eventually you get there where Carolina hits more consistently, but until they prove that they're going to do so, you shouldn't be shooting that many. Now, interestingly, I'm going to talk to Coach Rob about this on tomorrow's show because I'm very curious to hear his thoughts on what Carolina should do. Because again, it all keeps coming back to me to say, you got these two dudes in Henri Veesaar and Caleb Wilson that are incredible in the front court. And you're giving away that advantage if you don't go to them early and often. And so I think that's the thing for me that I'm the drum I'm going to continue to bang for now. And so for me, even philosophically, it's not that you shouldn't take threes. It's not even, maybe I could even be okay with that volume. It's that for me, you got to play inside out. You got to get the ball in first, make the defense either get into rotation or sag or something else, and then move the ball well as Carolina does this year. That's another key component in this, and then get your open looks. And you saw it against Georgetown on Sunday, that like Derek Dixon's threes. There was the first one that was off a Henri Veesaar kick out to him at the top of the key. Boom. I mean, that thing was butter. Just looks so good. That's what Carolina needs to do. Start inside and play out. Inside out basketball is what we're looking for. So we'll keep our eyes on it and see what Carolina does in these 4 remaining non-conference games. Is there any movement towards a higher focus and intentionality on the front court guys? And is Caleb part of that too? Is that as Caleb Wilson, as Henri Veesaar draw more attention, which it's great that they both can do that because it draws attention away from the other, but it's going to mean that Jarin Stevenson has to step up in the front court as well. So we'll keep our eyes on that as we move forward. All right, coming up on tomorrow's show, Coach Rob's going to join me. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait for that. I want to thank you all again for joining me here on Locked On Tar Heels on my bride's birthday. Yeah, so much fun. Again, look into the Everydayer Club, man. It's really cool. There's 2 tiers. A $5 tier a month and a $15 tier with more and more perks there. Great stuff to check out. I would encourage you to do so. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to have you in there. If you have not subscribed to the show already, make sure you do that so you don't miss a second of Locked On Tar Heels. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. Again, that's with Coach Rob. But until then, peace.